Welcome to the Head Shepherd Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ferguson, CEO here at NextGen Agri International, where we help livestock managers get the best out of their stock. Before we get started, thank you to our two fantastic sponsors for continuing to sponsor this podcast. MSD Animal Health is perhaps better known as Cooper's Animal Health in Australia and for their Allflex range across the world, with a comprehensive suite of animal health and management products. Honega is a one-stop shop for wool harvesting and animal fibre removal. The Honega team have a deep understanding of livestock agriculture, backed by Swiss engineering and a family business dedicated to manufacturing the best. We are grateful to our sponsors for their support, helping us bring Head Shepherd to you each week. And now it's time to get on with this week's episode. Welcome back to Head Shepherd. You're the Ferg. Great to have you listening along. This week on the show, we feature Bevan Ravenhill. Bevan farms down the southwest of Western Australia. A great story to be had there. We'll get back to that shortly. I just wanted to quickly mention our foot health webinar that's on Monday, the 24th of November. So next Monday, if you're listening to this when it comes out, it's 7 o'clock New Zealand time, 5 o'clock Australian Eastern. It's our first opportunity to expose the results from of the foot health work. So it's if you wanted to be fully up to date on all that work, then it's a great webinar to attend. You can register on the hub. Under the events section on the hub, jump on there and register your interest. If you can't make it, register anyway, and you'll get the recording sent out to you. The recording will, of course, be on the hub as soon as we get it edited and up there. So, really great opportunity for anyone who's interested in that foot health work. It coincides with the CPT being open again for sire nominations. So we'd love to hear from any merino breeders out there that are keen to get any sire they've got evaluated for the foot health panel of traits that we look at. There's a really great opportunity there, and this is the last one of the last cohort for that project. So a great opportunity to register your interest and jump on that webinar and find out about all the different traits we've been scoring and the heritabilities and how they're correlated. Yeah, great opportunity. We're going to have Gus Rose on from Agbu, who's been doing the analysis for us, myself and Amy. Great. And going to be a great webinar there on the 24th of November. Register on the hub. If you are wandering around the hub, also a great opportunity to check out Phoebe Eckerman's latest article on the correlations between traits. Something that's always intriguing for us. It's actually pretty awesome now with our Next Select tool. We can just press one button and get a full correlation matrix across the breeding bays of anything we've uploaded, and that's always really valuable for us to make sure we understand what's interacting with what. And they are not consistent, obviously, between different flocks, herds, breeds. They change because of selection pressure, and we know that they don't change massively, but they do change a bit, and it's worth always knowing those sort of things. Obviously, breeding bees take all those correlations into account, so it's not something we have to stress too much about. But in a breeding program, you do want to know if you're putting heat on a particular trait, you want to know what else is likely to move with it. All right, we'll get underway with this week's show. Bevan Ravenhill. The Ravenhills are known for being dairy farmers in Western Australia, but Bevan has branched out, gone sheep and beef farming. He runs operations for Lawson Angus in Western Australia. He runs the bulls there. He's also running a heap of shedding sheep on a separate property as well. So he's doing both of those. He brings his ethos of grazing from the dairy industry and talks about a lot about how really optimising pasture utilisation and therefore pasture production and therefore system performance, stocking rate, and really running a system that's pretty highly tuned, and a great example of how you can really turn up the dial on productivity in sheep and beef. We won't waste any more of your time. We'll get underway with this week's show with Bevan Ravenhill. Welcome, Bevan Ravenhill, to Head Shepherd.
Thank you, Mark. Always been listening to your podcast. It's very strange being on one.
It's even stranger because we're doing it in person, which is not something we do very often. So which is cool. Yeah, good to be here. So we're here. Well, maybe you explain where we are because my geography is not as good as yours.
No, that's fine. Welcome to WA, Mark. We're in the Great Southern, in the deep south. So Albany, right down the bottom there, south of Perth, 4 hours south of Perth, and then we're at Many Peaks, based at Many Peaks. So northeast of Albany by about 30 k's. So on the way to Esperance, I suppose, and then if you go a bit further, you'll be in South Australia.
Quite a bit further, but yeah, you get there eventually.
Yep.
Excellent. So yeah, we're obviously a grazing property, sheep and beef. Talk us through, I guess, both those two enterprises and where they're at today, and then we'll get back to kind of your background in grazing management and all those things as well.
Yeah, no worries at all. Thanks, Mark. So we run with Lawson Angus with Angus cattle, and we also run a trade system, buy and sell system, which uses our surplus grass, and then on another property we then run a shedding ewe flock, turning lambs straight into the feedlot job. So that 38 to 42 kilo lamb, and lambing fairly frequently to fill that feedlot job with shedding sheep. Yeah.
All right, let's do sheep, and then we'll come back to cows. That'll stir up Harry, but we'll focus on the sheep to get going.
Yep, no worries at all.
So so more frequently than annual lambing, and talk us through what that means in terms of how you're managing pasture and the complexities of that.
Yeah, righto. So we were sort of lambing for 5 and 6 weeks, probably two to three different lambings during the year with shedders, with ultra whites. And we were running into trouble with the truth is Barber's pole. We were lambing for 5 or 6 weeks, and if we got copped Barber's pole in the middle there, it was very hard to handle that outbreak with young lambs at foot. So we've moved to 3 weeks on and 3 weeks off. So mate for 3 weeks, pull the rams out for 3 or 4 weeks, and then we go again. We've had mixed results mating ewes with lambs at foot. I think purely because we've got so many ewes with lambs at foot, the ewes probably haven't enough time to breed back. That's what we're sort of learning, I think, and you're in a much better space than us to tell us what's happening there. But we've been weaning and then making sure we've been breeding that ewe again within sort of 10 days of weaning those lambs, and just getting her fired back into the system again, because it gets back to turning grass into meat, and that's what we are. We're just a meat factory, grass into lambs. We've decided that we would do that 38 to 42 kilo lamb at sort of that 15, 16 weeks. With a weaning onto some fairly hefty pellets, a really good ration, and then they either then go onto grass and go to the feedlot, or they just come straight off the ration and straight into a feedlot system. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So because everyone's sort of concerned, I guess, about the lifting. They have a lifting carcass weight requirements, and so people that are trying to be breeder finishers have really struggled to get them out to that 50, 52, whatever kilos we need to sort of to hit that. So so you're obviously maximising meat out the gate means getting them out of here so that you can got those next ones coming through and not compromising your ewes.
That's exactly right. I would need another labour unit, a hell of a lot more infrastructure to start holding lambs from 40 to 55 kilos.
Yeah.
I do believe that their consumption increases incredibly the closer they get to 55. I don't know whether they become poor performers or they've just got a massive intake. The sheep boys know that. I know that I don't want part of that. And we're currently, and I can see going forward in the next 2 or 3 years, we're still being really well rewarded for lambs that are suitable to either go to backgrounders or go straight onto feed. So our price is very similar to a kill price anyway.
Yeah.
And we've decided that we're going to keep a simple system. We're just going to grow a hell of a lot of grass. I want to produce as many lambs as we can. Obviously, we've got out-of-season lambs, which require a bit of a different feeding regime compared to the lambs that we've turned off this month in August, sort of born in August. They were August-born lambs. So they're really easy and really nice. But we sort of try to target that out-of-season stuff as well for premiums, and our abattoirs and feedlots, I think, going forward are going to need a lamb every day of the year. I can see us shifting to maybe a beef feedlot situation, if that makes sense. More and more lamb being finished properly by finishers that are doing an actual really good job. I can't do both. I can grow grass and I can get that lamb out. But yeah, we we haven't got the people and we haven't got the capabilities to do that finishing section.
Yeah, talk us through the grass growing bit, which is one of your specialties. And I guess when you're gearing up a system to do that accelerated lambing or lambing more often than annually, are you growing different specialty pastures, or is it supplementary feeding that you're sort of running with, or is it?
No, so we're still running with annuals, where the annuals will grow. Some of our areas will grow perennials, where we can put some more feed on the shoulders. We can start slightly earlier, we can finish slightly later. A lot of the country still tends itself to annual ryegrass, all your different clovers. So our aim is to grow them out in the feed. So a couple of ways. The ways that we do it is we dry sow. So we've currently, this spring now, we've currently spray top pastures that we know that were poor performers or bottom performers on our grazing sheets. So we know which paddocks were poor performing in the bottom. So we've stitched them up so we can dry sow. We'll dry sow the majority of the country, dry sow in the autumn. The last 2 or 3 years, we've had shocking starts, shocking finishes. We haven't had seed set, so we've had to re-sow every year. Been quite a good blessing because we can get density.
Yeah.
With that, obviously, dry sow. When those rains come, confinement is a really big thing with us. Confinement feeding. So we've done that for a very long time, ever since I was a young boy. I can remember Mum and Dad locking up cows. Feeding in a small paddock and then releasing them onto grass when the grass was sufficient. So confinement feeding is a big one. Yeah. How do we confinement feed? Depending on whether we've got ewes and lambs, depends on whether we've got just dry sheep or pregnant sheep. We've got everything at that time in that May period, the May-June period. So we might have a paddock set aside that we just sow a bit later where the ewes and lambs are on or lambing. So that'll be just as the season happens. We cannot eat our spring out. There is no physical way that we can eat our spring out. The more grass we grow, the bigger our spring is. And we can't, and our springs are very short. I think they're short. They're maybe 6 or 8 weeks. Yeah. We can't buy enough livestock in and then sell the livestock to cover the spring. So all of our spring surplus goes into silage. So make silage in the spring, and then we use that to feed back over that summer, autumn confinement area. We've got it all in different grades, so we know what came out of what paddock. So we've got A, B, and C grade, and then we'll know that dry ewes that just need a bit of protein. The C grade will be fine for them. The A grade has to go to the ewes and lambs. Yeah. So we're sort of organised in terms of that going forward.
Is that based on a test? Is that like you're obviously testing?
No, so visual. So
right.
we've gone on visuals because we've only just made it a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But what we will do is we will then test to confirm what we've seen.
Yeah.
Okay. So some of our C grade was some stuff that probably should have been done 2 weeks before. Didn't have enough legume in the bottom. Yeah. It's better than hay. It's nowhere near as good as rocket fuel silage. Yeah. The other silage that is A grade was stuff that had lotus, cadiz, ceradella, balanza, clover, ryegrass, some cereal in it, and which we sort of classified as potential A grade. It'll be our best stuff anyway. Yeah. Whether it's the best in the world, it'll be the best stuff that we've got. That's another thing that we do is we also sow cereals. So we always put cereals in our dry sowing just so we can get quick early feed and get our annual ryegrass, the legumes protected from the wind and all that sort of stuff. So, and not many of those cereals are present by the time we get to the springtime. Springtime, we've sort of eaten all of them out.
Yeah, cool. So, is that wrap silage or pit silage? That's pit silage.
Yeah. So the sheep enterprise is on square bale wrap silage.
Right.
So tube, big long line tube silage, square bales, which is chopped and inoculated, because it's easy to feed. We know what they weigh, and it's quite simple in that system to feed the sheep. We were doing square bale silage on our beef farm, but this year we've gone to pit silage because the season has allowed us to have more surplus than we require. And a lot of our cattle are containment fed on the home farm where we are today. So during that containment period, when those first rains happen, pretty much everything's back on one spot, and that's where our pit silage is, where we've got a mixer wagon and we can dial up a ration according to what class of livestock we've got. So, we're both this year. We have had very good results with square bale silage, chopped square bale silage, and that's been a real game changer compared to the issues that we have with round rolls going forward.
Yeah. You're on about 50 k's from a fair bit of grain. Do you bring much grain into the system, or is it mainly what you cut here and carry?
So Sheep Enterprise is we get pellets in, a high-spec pellet, high-energy, high-protein. We put a few other products with it as well that we use in our lambs. That's just for ease of management. Yeah, it cost me another $100 a tonne, but for the ease of management and the amount we use on weaning lambs isn't a massive amount.
Yeah.
In terms of bull finishing during that real tough period, trying to keep bulls forward, and obviously we'll get onto cattle later, but selling yearling bulls, we obviously need some more energy for those young boys to get them to sale date at sort of 14, 15 months of age. So we will use like a wheat or a barley on them to drive more energy. Whereas our silage should be providing enough protein. Yep. If it doesn't, we might add some canola meal or something like that to do that. But no, we're not a big issue, and not a big user of grain in the whole system, if that makes sense. Because I think our spring is way too big, and if we can conserve our silage at the right time, there's potential for not much grain use, if that makes sense. Yeah.
And obviously one of your passions is growing grass, and that comes from a bit of time and I don't know how long in the dairy industry. You can maybe talk us through your sort of where your passion for growing and utilising grass came from.
So great-granddad came out to Walpole, Tingledale, Valley of Giants in, 1912. So one of my third or fourth generation dairy farmer.
Yeah, right.
So dairy farm for a very long while, and then we had succession in 2011, and then we went beef farming in 2011. Two brothers and mum and dad. So the one's a plumber and the other one has kept the dairy farm, and mum and dad are still there on the dairy farm as well. So the Ravenhills are still milking a lot more cows than they started with back in 1912, and definitely a lot more than we were milking 10, 12 years ago. So born and bred dairy farmer, grew up with tapes and pigtails. I think they call them pigtails in New Zealand.
Standards.
Standards.
Yeah.
Yep. So with standards, little posts. So always running wires, always been electrocuted by electric fence. Grew up with rubber boots. Grew up in intensive ag. We also had pigs. I think every dairy farm used to have pigs as well. Yeah. So grew up in intensive agriculture from a very young age. So that's probably where the passion of grass came from, because we're always with Dad. We were always doing something with grass. Yeah. There was always something. We're either sowing or fertilising or strip wires, or have the cows got enough? Do you need to shift the tape? Because we're obviously shifting tapes twice a day. When we were a young kid, because we only had 80 cows, so they only had one strip. And then when we went to like 3 mobs, 800,000 cows, we had 3 mobs. So we had 6 tapes to shift, 3 in the morning, 3 at night. So it was just what happened. My kids have grown up with strip wires too, so they know whether you've overgrazed it, undergrazed it, how to grow more. So that's been fantastic in terms of going forward in the beef industry, because the major hassle that we saw with the beef industry, holding the beef industry back, was pasture utilisation. Yeah. And I think it still is. Yeah. There's mountains of data and research that just shows that, you've got to increase pasture utilisation. It's your easiest way to profit, I suppose, is to use more grass. And once you've used more grass, you grow more grass.
Yeah.
We've found that when we come under pressure in those tight points, we actually grow more grass. The years like this, where it's a good traditional year where it was really easy to grow grass, we probably haven't grown as much grass as we could have because we always had grass.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have to work hard. It's when you get a tough May and a tough June and you're thinking, oh, my God, am I going to have to give them a bale of hay? Where's my next blade of grass come from? What can I do? Is the grazing height right? That's where we really learn how to manage grass. And I think with these low stocking rate sheep and beef herds, they don't really come under pressure. They don't understand that they're only, 20%? Utilising 20, 25%, 30% of their grass.
Yeah.
That they've got there's a massive lift there that is pretty much free.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I find it interesting. Well, we'll go on the cattle in a minute, but yeah, I guess we've got people talking about feed use efficiency and thinking that that's a kind of a really important thing in the maternal herds. But if we're utilising 25% of our grass, then making it more efficient use of that, and in the animal, it doesn't make as much sense as actually putting up wires and changing our pasture use efficiency.
Yes.
They're both possible, and feed use efficiency is handy in a feedlot, but a lot of people think about it as a maternal trait, which, we just leave so much grass on the table, literally, that we've got other things to focus on, maybe.
That's exactly right. Correct. Very correct. Yes.
How many reels do you own now?
So we've sort of so the home farm's down to 6 and 7 hectares.
Yeah.
So our rule is whether you're if it's got 4 feet, if it's sheep or beef, you're on 3 days.
Yeah.
No longer than 3 days.
Yeah.
If it's a big paddock, you got to make your mob bigger.
Yeah.
And if it's a small paddock, well, you're going to be in there and out of there in 2 days.
Yeah.
So our rule is 3 days. Our sheep farm's all over the place in terms of paddock size. It's really undulating and patches of bush. Really good and protected, grows a lot of feed. But we do struggle with paddock size there. But what happens is we just come out with a higher residual.
Yeah.
And we can always graze it next time.
Yeah.
As it is now, we've got a couple of big mobs of dry ewes that are about to be mated again. So that's really easy. 3,000 in a mob. Bang, 35 hectares, they can sort that out. We're in and out.
Yeah.
But here we can do bulls in 3 days. If we've got 15 paddocks, it's a 45-day rotation. So it's quite easy. So it's about mob size. But yes, we still do run reels. I've cut the handles off though. So we cut the handles off probably 20 years ago. The old man one day cut them all off and put a nut on the end, and then we just use a cordless drill.
Yeah.
So we've got a few short ones which annoy me that have got handles on, and you don't realise that we probably need to get fitted to use the handles. There's strip wires hanging around, definitely. Not as many as we did have at the dairy farm, let me tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. When you're in, for a young grazer out there who's wanting to increase utilisation and you're in a tough period, what are you sitting around doing in your office? What are you thinking about? What do you make? How are you growing that extra grass? What are the core decision rules that you set?
So if you can, so say we're sitting here in March, you probably didn't have the time to set up your pasture in last spring. So so the only way we're going to beat those weeds is by dry sowing. We need to have that pasture in dry sowed. So then your good plants are coming up when your weeds are coming up, and they've actually got a chance.
Yeah.
If you wait, this is not the break, I'm going to wait for the next 25 mil, your weeds are going to be 4 weeks ahead.
Yeah.
I would rather you fix the weeds up in crop rather than missing that growth initially. Lots of people are very hesitant about dry sowing because it's not the break. Once we get to the second week in March, we start sowing.
Yeah.
I've seen ryegrass turn all different colours, and by Jesus, it survives.
Yeah.
Now, there'll be wheat belt cockies going, I've got ryegrass that survives in 30-degree temperature. So our blokes are getting very soft down here. They need to get it in straight away. So that'd be the first one.
Yeah.
Get your pasture up. Get your cattle off. Okay, so it's about rest and recovery, and that's when we start grazing. Get your livestock off. You're going to have to feed them for 6 weeks anyway. Let's feed them for 6 weeks in a small paddock where we don't use much diesel. They're confined. We might have to give them another strip or something because they've bogged it up in the next rain. The biggest hassle with confinement during a wet start is bogging. Where's my new spot that I'm going to feed on the ground? So that is an issue. So you might just want to use a small paddock and split in thirds, and then just every 2 weeks give them a new third and just trash that paddock. I would rather you trash 5% of your whole farm and have it looking like a mud pit than having no feed on 100% of your area.
Yeah.
So put your livestock in their demands. So dry cows, pregnant cows, because they're going to require different feed. People have learned a lot after the last few years because hay went to $500-600 a tonne. A lot of glorified cardboard, and we had access to grain, pellets. It was all very expensive, so we had to make rations. We couldn't feed them all the same thing because we were just doing our money. So feed those livestock. Containment is absolutely critical. Obviously, your fertiliser, you need to get fertiliser right. Now, remembering that in the autumn and the spring, we've got massive growth rates. So we're going to be growing at 60, 70 kilos a day. Yeah. Get your pasture in, get your pasture flying, because you need to have a wedge of pasture before you get into your critical period. That might be June somewhere, might be July somewhere, where it pulls up. It's only going to pull up to 30 kilos. We get down to 30 kilos here. Yeah. So we'll go 50 to 30, then we'll go to 100. We got to 100 probably 3 weeks earlier this year, showing sort of that we had a fairly handy winter, late winter and early spring. So
we're talking kilos a day, I assume, 100?
Of dry matter, that's exactly right. Kilograms of dry matter per hectare, that's exactly right. Yeah. So, and whereas a cow's only eating 15 or 20. Yeah. So there's a massive, we can build a feed wedge to get us over the next pinch point. You've still got to feed the cow. You either feed her for 6 weeks running around and you have short grass, and then you've got a tough winter period because you haven't grown any grass to get you through the winter. So you're still going to have to feed them. It doesn't matter. You either prolong it for 12 weeks or you just go, righto, 6 weeks, bang, I'm going to grow some grass. Now our autumns have got different start times. We'll always get a winter. We'll always get a spring. The spring will depend on where the rain cuts out. But we know that we're always going to get a winter, and we know that we're always going to get a spring. So we're going to have feed. Yeah. We're not in an environment where we're going to go, oh, my God, it's going to be 6 months, 6 months brown, like during that winter period. And then, rotate your livestock. So rest and recovery. So we need to be, grazing no more than 3 days and resting for 35 days to let that plant recover. And that way, leaf grows leaf. So solar passive with your photosynthesis. So you need to have really big leaves, and then obviously with root depth with that as well. And obviously nutrition. What we learned back in the dairy days was we started following cows with fertiliser. So we'd graze and then we'd spread. So we'd spread fertiliser every day after they came out. That was a game changer. We've done that ever since. We still do that now in our beef and sheep enterprise. We're always fertilising after cattle and sheep come out, because we're doing little often. Yeah. Rather than these big dumps, which are potentially bad for the environment, the big rainfall events, the lock-up, the tie-up, all those things that we're all fighting, input costs. We're probably spending the same amount, but we're spreading it out. Yeah. And I think we've probably got better utilisation of the nutrient, and I think we're growing more grass. So rest and recovery, and then you'll find that you'll just have that much feed. Even with a simplistic rotation where you have 5 paddocks and you go a week in each, and then at least you get 4 weeks rest. Yeah. Okay, that's a really easy one. You don't have to go putting strip wires up. Let's just get a rotation happening. Let's let's not just do a flip-flop. Oh, there's more in that one. Let's hunt them out the gate, try to chase them out the gate to get them. It's horrible here because as soon as you start a bite, there's a mob of cattle that are, I'm going this way. This is where we're going. So there's always something at the gate saying, I'm ready for a shift. Yeah. So it does become frustrating, but very easy. You just sit back and call them under the gates, the tapes, and they go through. We know that here in our environment that if we're down to a fairly low residual level on our grass, 1st of August, we're in a pretty good shape because day length growth rates will just outdo us.
Yeah.
So we know that we can, become on a knife edge towards the end of August because we know that once September comes, you'll never catch it, and all those growth rates will show that's what will happen. So, but we need to grow that wedge to get us to June and July.
Yeah. So I guess if we transplant those skills to different environments, it's about understanding the pasture curve, when it's going to grow, when it's not going to grow.
Correct.
And also what you're going to do tactically when it adjusts from that normal, which there is no normal, but
yes,
like when from the average curve, when it's deviating from that, you've got to obviously make some changes and make those. But I guess learning that curve, has that been something you did through pasture cages and stuff, or you've just sort of?
So back in the 90s, there was a bloke called Bevan Kingdon who worked for the Ag Department when the Ag Department worked, and they held using the fourth leaf. So that was learning about how ryegrass grows, and more strip wise, more nutrition, that sort of stuff. So they did a really good thing in the dairy industry where they got people using plate meters. So they taught us, coming back to me now, taught us how to use plate meters, and then this was 1,500 kilos. This was 2.5 ton. Cow eats 20 kilos. How many cow days have we got? That sort of stuff. So it took you back to basics. That was fantastic. And then with the shifts in the dairy, you could actually see how much grass, height, and how far you went. So that was great. What we've had now and what everybody's got access to is pastures from space, which has got some really good data on it. It may not be absolutely perfect, as in like it is 100 kilos. It might be 90 kilos, might be 120 kilos. But what it does is it gives us a really good indicator graph of where we're headed.
Yeah.
Are we on the up? Are we on the down? Now, somebody told me a long time ago that those sorts of that satellite stuff will tell us before we actually see it. I don't know what it is. 2 or 3 weeks earlier than we can actually physically see it.
Yeah, right.
So, I can go out the paddock and go, oh, Jesus, the grass is growing. Well, guess what? 2 weeks ago, it had already started to accelerate.
Yeah.
And on the other side is, Jesus, it's coming down. The growth rates are coming down.
Yeah.
And you can't often see that until you sort of get 2 or 3 paddocks down. You go, oh, there's not as much grass in here. But we're already halfway through our rotation. So there's some really good technology out that can give us really good indicators early. And it's the same as OptiWeigh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's stuff that we can't see.
Yeah.
So that's So that's sort of how we've learnt. We watch how often a leaf emerges. Okay, so if our ryegrass leaf is emerging every 12 days. So it takes 12 days for a leaf to actually emerge, a full leaf after grazing. We know that we're going to graze at 3 leaves. So 3 times 12 is 36 days. So we need to be back in 36 days. We got down to 6 days the other day per leaf, which is 18 days.
Yeah.
So that tells you soil moisture, nutrition, grazing management was Mickey Mouse. We were like pumping, and there's no way you can catch that. So that meant that we had to be back to the same spot in sort of 18 days. And that's where you start dropping stuff out for silage, where you can just go, mate, we can drop out every 2 paddocks out of every 3. We can drop out for silage,
I'm trying to imagine what it looks like when you're out there talking to your ryegrass and working out when they're putting a leaf out. Are you actually monitor individual plants, or is that just tell me how you do that practically?
Right, so jump off the motorbike in a random spot in the paddock. Yep. What you'll find is we run a grazing app. So we've got an app because a couple of things because I can't remember how many livestock are where, and it tells me my days since last grazed.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll jump off in this paddock, have a look at my app. It'll say I was grazed 7 days ago. This is 7 days since I left, since I got the bulls out. So I'll then pick the ryegrass plant out, and you can see the chomp mark of where we chomped it down to the residual.
Yep.
And then what you'll see is a leaf that's come out and maybe another little one, if that makes sense. And you go, well, that's about one leaf. That's 7 days.
Yeah, cool.
And then in the wintertime, we might go, I'll jump off halfway up the laneway. This is about, halfway grown. I'll pull it out. It's got two leaves. It's been 25 days. Oh, it's 12 and a half days. We should be on a 36-day rotation. That's obviously what's happened in the last 12. But you've obviously, if we're going into a real wet period, it could go to 15 days. So we need to be out at 40 or 45 days. So it's as simple as that. Because obviously it gets chomped off at one level and then the next leaf comes up. So,
Cool. Right. We better talk cows. So you just talk us through your role with or connection with Lawson Angus.
Yep. So I'll do a short one, shorter than the grass one. You probably tell me where my passion lies. The beef one may be just as long. So had succession for the dairy. Went and bought a farm in higher rainfall, and we bought a really well-renowned Angus stud. I'll call it a traditional Angus stud. Cracking cows, beautiful cows, phenotypically really good cows to look at. Not much pressure. Gets back to the 20%. They were probably on 10% utilisation of feed. There was just feed everywhere. They're just big whales. So we had some beef cows down there. Started looking through brochures, glossy brochures for AI. Coming from the dairy background, we've been AIing since Uncle Trevor had. He did his AI course in 1978. So we'd been AIing cows for a fair while. Never seen a dairy bull in my life. We just sort of bought straws of semen. So we didn't need to touch and feel the bull. So started flicking through and going, oh, these are all right, this is what these cows need. We need some more growth and we need some calving ease, and these cows are bloody big cows. We need to moderate these. Because coming from the dairy background, we knew about intakes and we knew that we had to feed cows 25 kilos, and that wasn't going to work in the beef industry. So I ended up ringing, all these bulls came up in the magazine as Lawson bulls. It was probably back when Dinky Dye and all them were the first of the curve benders. Rang Harry, and Harry was somewhere between Hopetown and back to Victoria, and we got chatting, and then he said, well, this is what we can, this is what these bulls will do, and so we ended up, our next year's AI program, we used half Lawson bulls and half glossy brochure bulls that the reps had a high margin on, I suppose. So chalk and cheese. These calves just fell out, grew like mad. Moderate cow size. Just so easy to, be as a cow and go where we're going. We got to 1.8 cows a hectare down there. So on autumn calving, so we could run a lot of cows, but they had to be moderate cows, fast growing cows, and we were quite heavy, high rainfall. So we used to do pasture damage. So that's sort of how that started. We got those AI calves in the system. They just smoked everything else. And then we got talking, then we ended up getting cows out of Victoria, and then we started becoming a cooperator, feeding bulls into the Lawson Angus brand in Australia. And then we started holding I think we were the first helmsman sale, and the first Auctions Plus helmsman sale. So that was, when was that? Back in 2013, I think. So we started then selling bulls in WA, yearling bulls in WA. We started with yearlings down there. So that's how that sort of started. Cool,
right. Let's talk, I guess your commercial beef herd, or what's important to you? What's you've talked about moderate cow and calving ease and a few things, but what are you building in when you're building an Angus?
When we're building an Angus herd, well, it gets back to grass. Our biggest cost is feed by far. It doesn't matter whether we've got a Merino ewe composite or an Angus cow. Our biggest cost is grass. So if we can somehow turn that grass into a lot of kilos of calves, is probably the most efficient way. So we can have a moderate cow that still has a fast growing calf. We'll achieve the weaning weights the same as the others, but we can have more of them. Okay, so we want them to come out small, grow like mad. So your 400 and 600 day weights, so we can still hit our feedlot targets. Moderate mature cow weight with all those carcass traits as well. So that's and obviously have another 20% of them, because having a moderate cow doesn't mean that our weaning weights are any less. It just means that cow ate less during the year for us to get the same amount of kilos of calf at the end. What we learnt in the 18 and 19 drought was that our larger mature cow weight cows fell out of the system when we put them in the pressure cooker. Now, that was cows that didn't bounce back and wouldn't rebreed. So they were bigger cows that just didn't cycle, or was too late to come back into a real short joining. She wouldn't rebreed under pressure.
Yeah.
So, and that's a massive cost. If we've got a first calver or a second calver that doesn't rebreed, that's a massive cost. That's the killer.
Yeah.
Because you've held her for ages. So we couldn't afford to have that in our business. So we're going to have seasonality. It's going to be tough. It's going to be wet. It's going to be nice. We just needed to reduce our risk to the elements, if that makes sense. So we needed fertility, same as in the sheep job. Yeah. It's all about lambs. It's all about beef. We wanted to have a low maintenance cow, but we still wanted to have those calves that are suitable for the feedlot job or for the export job, or those black calves. As we know now, Angus calves can go anywhere at any weight. Doesn't matter whether they're 250 kilos or 550 kilos. Yeah. We can sell them every day of the year. Doesn't matter who or where. We're still going to get a premium if the market's down. So that's and low stress. We just don't want to be spending huge amounts of money on extra feed. Yeah.
So mature cow weight obviously has been the trait to try and pull that up, but you've talked about sort of moderate cows, and I guess we've now got hip height and body condition score as breeding values, which I think changed the game. Is that something that's been implemented, or is that?
Yes, so that's very new. So yes, that is exactly right. So we're big takers of raw data, and we have been, and I think Angus Society should reward us for actually taking physical, hard data.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it's very easy to pull a tail here, but there's a core of us still capturing on-farm data, and we need to have that on-farm data to be able to go into all that.
Yeah, the reference population.
All into the reference population. That's exactly right. So yes, we've been taking weaning weights of cows at weaning. All our mature cow weights. We do the 2, 4, 6 gestation length, the birth weights with catching calves. We only did the fats and eye muscle, all the scanning last week. I think a week ago we did all the bulls and the heifers. So we're submitting all that raw data.
Yeah.
So the next part of that is exactly right. You're dead right. Is your hip height and your condition score. That is definitely our next one to go on there. Definitely.
Yeah.
Because we need people to capture raw data. I'm a big believer of that. It sucks, but we need it, because I think that's how we've developed as a breed society, and how we as Lawsons have developed is being at grassroots, being there, doing that real data taking.
Yeah, no, it is critical, and I guess the Angus, you've just talked about how black calves are infinitely saleable, which is true. But it wouldn't be true if Angus hadn't have taken the leadership, however many years ago, 20, 30, more than that years ago with data, and like they're only selling because people know they're consistent and because there's been a lot of use of information over the years, and now we've obviously gone to genomics, and there is a risk. I mean, genomics is powerful, but if we take away a reference population that trains the genomics, then we've got no power. And so, yeah, we know as industries we're at the kind of a crossroads with. As that becomes more powerful, people see less value in the phenotypes or collecting raw data.
Yes.
And that's a risky thing for a breed to be wandering into.
It is, and as soon as the HD50 and all those sorts of tail pulling hairs came, I said, well, the blokes should actually be paid for data, for actually submitting data into Angus Australia, because as you said, we're going to hit a brick wall, because the more and more catalogues I see, the more and more people I see are just doing just tail hair stuff. I understand the OH&S, that's an issue. You know what I mean? That capturing raw data is an issue, and we're all obviously all aware of that. We've got to keep capturing raw data. We really do. Yeah. I'm for that, and I suppose that's where Lawson's have come from. You know, I mean, back in the Pert Angus days, feeding all that original information into Angus Australia, been performance recorded since the 70s, I think. Don't quote me. For a very long time, and then been full AI and ET since early 90s, I reckon. Harry would be able to tell you that better. That'll be somewhere. But it's been a hell of a long time where we haven't used a natural bull. We've just been AI and ET, because it's about large contemporary groups. We want big licks of the same animal, and that's why we only use 4 AI bulls over 2,500, 3,000 cows, because we've got big licks of bulls, because what we want to do is change the population genetics. So we want the blokes to come and buy bulls and buy, 10 bulls out of the same sire. They can then shift their population, their genetics in their cows massively, and then next year they can buy 8 or 10 of a different sire, and they can match them over, rather than buying one of each sire and you got 10 different sire groups. That really does your head in on a commercial, because it's got to be simple. Yep. It's got to be simple and effective. So what we learnt in the dairy industry was we used to buy 500 straws of one bull, 250 heifers. Guess what? 250 heifers, like peas in a pod. They were so easy to manage. If it said it was going to put teats out, the teats would go out. If it said it was going to kick, it would bloody kick. So that stuff doesn't lie. So, and that's why I could get on the Lawson wave, because we were used to having big licks of contemporary groups of heifers in the dairy industry. So why can't we do the same thing in the beef industry? Because we've seen that progress.
It's an interesting model, and there's different people have different perspectives on it. But
definitely.
But is there concern? And I can't remember if I asked Harry this question when I had him on, but there's obviously some male fertility traits. Is there any risk that there's something we're missing if we just keep AIing forever? Like if there's a bull can't serve a cow because that cow herd has never actually been naturally mated. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if that's
So could you tell if the sons then aren't capable, would that go through all the way to the sons?
I guess that's where
would that be where...
Yeah, you'd be picking up in commercial herds.
You'd pick it up with the bulls that we sell, wouldn't you? I think I haven't really thought of that.
I think that's true.
Would that be right? I think you would see it in the sons... the sons presented at sale.
There'd be failings in there,
I don't know whether it'd be as more or less. Very good question. I don't know the answer.
With 4 bulls going to a heap of cows, so you'd never use, you'd always use a proven bull then. You couldn't take the risk of putting an unproven bull over 500 cows?
It depends on, that's a question for Harry. Harry obviously does all of our breeding stuff, and we've got an aligned direction of where we want to go. Yeah. So I'd say if there's an unproven bull there, that we know the parentage is, and we know what those sire lines are, and the dam line is, and we know what they've done, and genomics has given us the right data. We will then use definitely using. We have used a few of our own, like S&T bulls, in our own herd because we might have needed to tweak something, and that was the only bull that would sort of tweak that.
Yeah.
We haven't sort of chased rainbows. We've stuck with our if you ever get a chance to see Lawson's herd, make sure you go and see one because you will just see consistency, and that's because we haven't gone off what we've always said. You know what I mean? We've just got consistency across the whole herd. And then we need to find new bulls that are outcrosses to be able to keep with our goals, our alignments. We don't chase rainbows.
Talk us through structure, the structural breeding values in Angus. I think it's probably the only breed that's actually got them at the moment, and more the merrier, really. Is that something that we looked at as well as one of the challenges we see with rapid genetic gain is that and Angus are not known for amazing feet as a breed, probably. That's been an ongoing challenge, I'm assuming.
So when we semen test, they're independently structured scored by our vets and that.
Yeah.
They'll also ask us, Alison and I here, our herd manager, and I will just pretty simple. Ali and I are pretty hard on them. Because obviously a lot of our bulls might go into Pemberton where it's 1,100 mil of rainfall, never seen a rock. There's no wearing surfaces. If anything does happen, because our bulls are in big groups and funny soil types and that, we sort of see if anything does pop up, it sort of pops up before you can get before you sell them, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's not masked because we've got a heap of granite country and they're worn down the whole time. Are we aware of feet? We definitely are aware of feet. Definitely, as you said, Angus industry has to look at all of our different things going forward. So we've got a functional cow. It gets back to that rebreeding. If we lose a cow at 4 years of age because of bad feet, that's costly for me as a bull producer. Yeah. You're probably not going to come back. And you as a producer, because you've just spent $4,000 on that cow and you've chopped it for $1,500. It's not fun. Yeah. So we have to be harder, and we are harder on our cows and our bulls than the average customer because we put them in a pressure cooker, if that makes sense. Yeah. The top come to the top and the bottom fall out. So
maternal efficiency is something you've sort of talked about, and you've talked about kilograms per hectare, so that's kind of got a maternal efficiency plus stocking rate, which is that moderate cow and all those sort of things. I guess one of the challenges with beef cows is they don't twin. Well, some of them do, yes. but generally...
I hate twins.
Yeah.
I'll tell you now, I hate twins. Yeah. But I've still got a brother in the dairy industry, so you know where my twins go.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously we've got to increase calf wean or calf that growth rate, so it's about breaking those curve benders, I suppose. And I guess we've already talked about conditions, corn, hip height, and mature cow weight, but that's our only mechanism. I guess when I'm looking at the genetic gain, I see the average Angus cow has gone up by about the same weight that the average 400-day weight breeding weight has gone up. So I feel like we're not, as an industry, breaking that curve. I guess just your thoughts on the importance of maternal efficiency and getting more kilograms of beef out the gate per kilogram of cow running around, I suppose, or per kilogram of grass consumed is the more important metric.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So with the average industry, I suppose with the average Angus industry, we've got the extremes, haven't we? We've got the cows on 10 acres and then we've got the cows on 1 acre. We've got the big cows. We've got the 900 kilo cows. We've got the 500 kilo cows. So how are we doing it? So we want that 650 kilo cow that can rebreed within that 50, 60 days, get pregnant within that sort of six to 9 weeks. Yeah. She needs to have a live calf. So anything that has a dead calf or doesn't get pregnant gets their heads cut off here. So we're breeding for those sort of reproductive traits to be able to get cows in calf So how are we doing it? So growing more grass. Yeah. I've sort of lost the question a bit.
I'm thinking I'm not even sure it was a good question.
No, but I've probably addressed it in 3 or 4 different ways. But as a whole, how do we increase calf weaning weight? I don't think we can. We don't want to increase milk, okay, because it's very costly to convert milk. So grass into milk into a calf is very inefficient, very costly. So we need to be able to not increase milk.
So tell me where milk should sit in terms of a breeding value number.
Average. I think is it 18 or 20? I don't know. All I know is that I don't want any more milk in our Angus cows. Yeah. If I want more milk in our Angus cows, go and get a Friesian. We've got more than enough milk to get our calf to 200 days, 300 days of age. So, because milk is a massive consumer of grass, which is an environmental risk. Okay, so if we have a high milk cow, she then needs to eat more grass, more high quality grass, for her to milk and then put body condition on and then to get pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's a risk. She's an environmental risk for me. She's an asset risk. So we need to have a cow that can convert very easily, so she can get fat on an oily rag.
Yeah.
She can also got some carcass fat to be able to draw on. Okay, so she can draw down on that intramuscular fat. She can bounce back when it comes good. She can rebreed and still produce a 380 kilo calf, same as the other cows, and get back pregnant. But the thing is, we can probably run another 10 or 20% more of them because we're feeding our intake on a cow is 16 kilos a day, not 20 kilos a day. It's about reducing our whole footprint, if that makes sense, that methane, about the grass, about the cows, about the turn-off time. We need to get them to turn off as quick as we can. We can't be feeding them for 3 years because that's not environmentally efficient.
Yeah, cool. If you could click your fingers and change the grazing industry, what's the one thing you'd change?
Go to a simple rotation system. Just have 5 paddocks per mob, and have a week in each paddock. So that gives you 4 weeks rest. Yep. Okay, you're not going to be in the top percentile in your grass growth. You will grow more grass.
Yeah,
you will definitely grow more grass.
Cool.
People need to do the things that are free before they buy seed. Okay, we see a lot of seed being sold. They don't sell grazing management with it. People put in perennials, $250 a hectare for seed. They won't be there in the second year because they don't know how to graze.
Yeah.
My first rule would be, before you go to perennials, is to understand and absolutely nail annuals. If you're at the top of the curve on your annuals and you can't grow any more annuals, you can then have a crack at perennials. That's where I see that. So my biggest one's grazing management. Even if you don't confinement feed, you know what I mean? You're not happy with that. You don't have to build pens. Just stuff up 1 paddock out of your 5.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You're still going to grow more grass. Do that. It's not going to cost you anything. It doesn't cost you anything to call the cows from one paddock to the other. You might have to do it with a roll of hay the first time. Guess what? The second week, they're going to know what's happening. That doesn't cost anything. You don't have to run strip wires. You don't have to buy a new buggy or a Raptor and do that. Just get a simple system and grow more grass. Then you will then have more spring grass because you've managed it properly, and then then we've got more grass for next year. Geez, we need more cows.
Yeah.
So before you start putting on a heap of fertiliser, spending a heap of seed, get a rotation happening. We can probably see that as the biggest free kick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've got a strong feeling that people would buy an OptiWeigh before they would start a rotation. You've got both. Tell me, and I know you had rotation going for 30 years or 40 years before you bought an OptiWeigh, but yeah, I guess OptiWeigh, just talk us through what that's bringing to your business now. Obviously everyone's a great system and getting a really great
great
uptake.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. So we've got one in our beef system, and we definitely need one in our sheep system.
Yeah.
Where we want to put it in the sheep system is in the weaning pens. Is when we wean those lambs, and just to monitor them. We can monitor them in weight and out weight and how much pellets they've eaten. We know what we've put in the feeders, so we know what weight gain we're getting in there, and it's pretty handy. But we will also use it down the paddock for various times to see what lambs weigh before we wean them. What do they weigh at 10 weeks? And we're fully EID. We've just gone in and fully EID everything, so we can track everything. So we've got a really good idea. Beef, OptiWeigh and beef, sensational. There's no more yarding cows. It's a lifesaver. It's a time saver, staff saver. We've got a double OptiWeigh, so it weighs two animals at once, side by side. Our reads have just gone through the roof. We can do a mob of cattle in 2 days, which then means, we can do three mobs a week.
Yeah.
And then we sort of aim to be back within 3 to 4 weeks back to that same mob. And that's just allowed us massive. It's the next change. We know when to market cattle. We know that they're going forward or they've stopped.
Yeah.
Have we used it in terms of what pasture variety is better than the other? No. We're just using it as these are doing 1.2.
Yeah.
These are back to 1.1. These are 1.8. So we're purely using on that because just so we don't have to yard cattle. We've got very good facilities, but it's just that time. There's two of yous, there's time. And then we know that, that mob of trade cattle are 395 kilos. We know what the spread is. There's 200 in there. We know we can get 120 out. So then a few weeks before they're due to go or whatever, we'll go through them and then do that individual stuff. When I look out the window without an OptiWeigh, it's like, I don't know. I can't guess weights. I'm a shocker. I cannot guess weights. I was 100 kilos out the other day, and that wasn't on a sheep. That was on a cow. But I can't even guess ewe weights. I've got no idea.
Yeah.
So same with cows. I've got no idea whether they're 750, 850 or whether the bull's 500 or 580.
Yeah.
It's just a guess. It just removes all that guesswork. It's another really good tool because we're time poor.
Yeah.
So it's another really good tool for managing grass to know what your grass is doing, but also it's that real livestock one. Yeah, they look good. Put the OptiWeigh in. Jesus, they are cranking.
Yeah.
It just confirms it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Righto, we better wrap up. 2 last questions, which hopefully they're coming. But first one being, who's the best human you've had the opportunity to learn from?
Righto, so that would probably go back into my dairy days. So that would be Dr. Les Sandals from Best Fed. So Les, we used Les real early on in the late 90s to just put our dairy industry up the next gear in terms of nutrition and pushing yourself and all those sorts of things. So Les Sandals was good 10 or 15 years ahead of himself or ahead of the industry. Yeah. So Les taught us a lot about NDF, all those sorts of things, about intakes. We were using canola meal before canola meal was even used or known in the dairy industry. So Les really pushed us in terms of nutrition, grass, rumens, weaning, growth rates, all that sort of stuff in the dairy industry. So Les did a very good job in the dairy industry, and for us, yeah.
Cool. And what's the last thing you changed your mind about?
Oh no! So we've gone from 100% autumn calving to 100% spring calving.
Yeah, right. In what time?
6 months.
Yeah, right.
So we had the opportunity to have some really good people, a really nice young couple that have bought our autumn calving cows, and they're feeding bulls back to us. They were in a position to have a crack at farming, and they're doing an absolute brilliant job. So they've taken all our autumn calving cows on. We replaced them with spring calving cows, so 1st of August. Sensation, unreal. Just like it's. Look, I thought winter spring calving was good. It's next level good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. It just cow condition and just calves and growth rates. We haven't yet AI'd. We're due to AI in that first week of November for that August calving. So it'll be very interesting to see how we go. We won't be early weaning because our cows are bloody fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the cows will probably be running around with the calves for them longer than I would normally do, just because they'll be fat. We need to sort of pull them back. But that would probably be my last thing, is that spring calvings is another notch. Because it's not really done here in WA.
I don't normally ask follow-up questions to this question, but I am going to. Why was somebody who was so focused on utilising grass not calving in August?
Why wasn't I calving in spring beforehand?
Yeah.
You are exactly right. So back in the early 2013, 2014, we started selling yearling bulls.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so there's no yearling bull sales in WA then. It was all 2-year-old bulls. So they're all born in February and March and sold as in January, February as 2-year-old bulls.
Yeah.
We broke the mould and started selling yearling bulls. The latest, so we were May sales. The latest we could calve was the 3rd week of March to get a bull that was reproductively able to get semen out of and to make cows.
Yeah.
So that's where our autumn calving herd came out of, and we still sell yearling bulls. So that's why we were locked into autumn calving.
Yeah, right. I'll let you away with it.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thanks, Bevan. Awesome chat, mate. That's gone over an hour, so we better pull it up. But really good to hear all those. I'm sure this is one of those episodes that people will listen back to get a few tips. And really appreciate your time.
No worries at all. Thank you very much, Mark.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Heinegger, who are proud world leaders in the manufacturing and supply of professional sheep shearing and clipping equipment. Thank you to MNSD Animal Health and Norflex Livestock Intelligence. They offer an extensive livestock product portfolio focused on animal health management, all backed up by exceptional service. We thank both of these companies for their ongoing support of the Head Shepherd podcast.